the gap, standing for Jesus. Standing in the gap for family and friends. Standing in the gap, one love for all, so we all can make it in. Standing in the gap, standing for Jesus. Standing in the gap for family and friends. Standing in the gap, one love for all, so we all can make it in. Studying to show ourselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth, increasing our faith to envision our freedom, so we all can glorify our God.
Placed us in the middle of this world. Some people say, why? Well, he placed us in there for the Great Commission, but in order to spread his word as he wants us to, we have to know what's going on in the world. And so a part of our ministry, we've dedicated to what we call the Gap News. And Marvel's in charge of that, and she chooses certain subjects from current events and to emphasize and embellish each week. And as I always say, she's got more than enough material to choose from. So her biggest problem is, which one of these do I use and what do I do? But they keep coming at her, and she's ready for Gap News at this time.
I'm back. We have a good Gap News. Last week I was laughing and saying, there's never a shortage of things to talk about on the Gap News. So this week, there's been a whole lot of talk about, let's take over Greenland. Let's invade Panama. Take back the Panama Canal. Let's fight with Mexico and Canada and all this. I'm calling this one Trump the Imperialist. Let's go, y'all.
Begin with a tale of two very different holiday messages. Yesterday, for his last Christmas in office, President Joe Biden writing on X, "My hope for our nation today and always is that we continue to seek the light of liberty and love, kindness and compassion, dignity and decency." He also posted a picture of himself and the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, calling service members around the world to thank them. And then there was President-elect Donald Trump, who, while most of us were likely spending the holiday with our loved ones, with our families, well, he spent his day a little differently by posting more than 40 times on his social media platform, including a meme mocking former President Barack Obama, a number of articles in favor of Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth for FBI Director and Defense Secretary, respectively, a picture of himself receiving Fox's, quote, Patriot of the Year award, as well as a post encouraging former professional hockey star Wayne Gretzky to run for Prime Minister of Canada, saying, quote, "It would be so much fun to watch." But perhaps most disturbing of all was his lengthy Christmas message, where Trump doubled down on his suggestion that the U.S. should just take control of Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal. He wishes a Merry Christmas to Chinese soldiers who he claims are, quote, lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, as well as Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who he once again mockingly refers to as governor, and the people of Greenland, which he says is needed by the United States for national security purposes, and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will.
We're being ripped off at the Panama Canal like we're being ripped off everywhere else. He just said take it back. That's a good idea. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama, I say very foolishly, by the United States. This complete ripoff of our country will immediately stop. It's going to stop.
Quiero expresar de manera precisa.
I want to express that every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent areas belong to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable.
Meanwhile, on Wednesday, Trump announced he's picking Trump loyalist, local official Kevin Marino Cabrera from Miami to serve as U.S. ambassador to Panama. For more on this and Trump's vow to maybe also annex Canada, as he continually refers to Governor Trudeau, and even a possible soft invasion of Mexico, we're joined by the Pulitzer Prize-winning author Greg Grandin, history professor at Yale University. His recent op-ed in the New York Times headlined "The Republicans Who Want to Invade Mexico." His forthcoming book, America, America, A New History of the New World. Thanks for joining us, Professor Grandin. First, your response to Panama.
Well, Panama is interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on. Obviously, Trump is not president yet, and he's sending out messages that are meant to set a tone. And in some ways, it's classic Trump. He's saber rattling about these fantasies about taking back the canal. But I think the real kind of prosaic reason why he's doing that is to place single pressure on Panama to clamp down on immigration and particularly to close down the Darien Gap. Last year, I believe the numbers are quite off the charts. Something like 400,000 migrants traipsed through the very narrow jungle Darien Gap as part of the migration into the United States, and by placing pressure on Panama about the canal, this is Trump's way of bait and switch in some ways. But I think there are other things also going on. In some ways, it's distraction. The more we talk about Greenland, the more we talk about Canada and Governor Trudeau, and the more we talk about taking back the Panama Canal, the less we're talking about Syria or Gaza or these other hotspots that require significant attention and real diplomacy rather than this kind of circus act. But at least the premise that it was founded on was that nations were to cooperate with each other to create a peaceful war, hence diplomatic protocol. Trump, by just talking about taking the canal or taking Greenland or turning Canada into the 51st state, is really hearkening back to a world where the doctrine of conquest still reigned.
We're now turn to politics, and President-elect Donald Trump, who appears to have imperialism on the brain this holiday week, he targeted Canada, Greenland, and the Panama Canal in his Christmas message on Truth Social. It's an early indication of what's to come, potentially, from the incoming president when it comes to foreign policy. But Republican strategists are not worried, with one telling Politico, quote, "Crazy worked just fine the first time." Still, Canada seems to be trying to get ahead of whatever is coming down the pike, sending 2 members of Prime Minister. What is to make in what we've seen in the last week? Certainly, we will be seeing, it appears, more of the way he administered his policy via social media in the coming 4 years.
One of Trump's central themes in his foreign policy was essentially keeping our allies and their adversaries on their toes. And that was something that he felt worked from the jump. From the time he took office, he really believed that that was the way to deal with, again, complicated situations abroad. This time, he's coming in and inheriting different geopolitical tensions that I think change the game up a bit. But one thing we've seen already that he's foreshadowed for us is that he's not changing what I would call a route. The route is creating a fair amount of chaos, again, with relationships that should be solid, the one between us and Canada, for example. So I think what we're seeing here from Trump is not at all surprising to me, but I do think that the timing that we're seeing it all play out in is quite interesting, though I don't think it really changes what I believe will be truly solutions-oriented policy.
So yes, they are our neighbors, but we have stood up to them. We're in a different situation with Donald Trump, a convicted predator who's seriously undermining the democratic process in the United States, and he thinks he can just push us around. Exactly. He insults us. Yep. You know, the conservatives seem to like it because he's insulting our prime minister, but he's not really insulting the prime minister. He's insulting Canadians, calling us the 51st state.
That's right, exactly.
You know, once there was a Canada that had a flag that didn't need to be waved.
as Trump continues to put America first by threatening other sovereign countries, while we can add Greenland to the list of acquisitions that would now fall under the shiny banner of America's new geopolitical agenda. And Greenland is not for sale. Greenland is not for sale, its elected leader said on December 23rd, responding to comments by U.S. President-elect Donald Trump regarding the ownership and control of the vast Arctic island that has been part of Denmark for over 600 years. Greenland is ours. We are not for sale and will never be for sale. We must not lose our struggle for freedom, the island's Prime Minister Mute Igate said in a written comment. Trump on December 22nd announced that he had picked Ken Howery, a former envoy to Sweden, as his ambassador to Copenhagen, and commented on the status of Greenland, a semi-autonomous part of Denmark and host to a large U.S. Air Force base. For purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Trump, who takes office on January 20th, did not elaborate on the statement. The Danish government was not immediately available for comment. Greenland, with its Beefurtuk Air Force Base, is strategically important for the U.S. military and its ballistic missile early warning system, since the shortest route from Europe to North America runs via the island. During his previous term in office, Trump, in 2019, expressed interest in buying Greenland, but the proposal was promptly rejected by Denmark as well as by the island's own authorities before any formal discussions could take place. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen at the time labeled Trump's offer as absurd, leading him to term her dismissal of the idea as nasty.
He likes that. Any woman that doesn't say what he likes is nasty. So, you know what imperialism is, right? That's one country going somewhere and trying to take over land or a whole another country. Sometimes they do it peacefully, sometimes they do it through war. But Trump has now set his sights on Greenland, which this is kind of a rerun because he said he wanted to get Greenland when he was the president last time, as though it's a parcel of real estate that you can just make an offer and purchase. Of course, Greenland is not having that. And then he's going to insult our neighbors to the north and tell them they're nothing but the 51st state. And then he's going to say, we don't like how you're charging at the Panama Canal, so we're going to take it over. I found out that Panama is suing Trump right now for tax evasion. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Anyway, what do you think, honey?
Well, two things. One is that, purchasing another country, the United States has done that on several occasions with the Florida and with the Louisiana purchase and with Alaska. So, I'm sure that's one of the things that Trump thinks can happen because it has happened before. The problem with Donald Trump, and I'm not going to say a whole lot because he's something else, but I remember there was a song, James Brown, where he said, "I don't know karate, but I know crazy." Trump doesn't know how to be president, but he knows how to be crazy.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave it at that. And, sometimes we give too much air to that clown. But in any event, he's going to be the clown president. So.
Well, he got a clown car full of people that he's nominated, so I guess so. One friend of mine on Facebook said, it's not a clown car, it's a clown bus. But at any rate, I'm looking to see, nobody made any comments about the video or about Trump and his imperialistic aspirations. But we'll keep our eyes open. My friend Becky did say one thing, and I'll put it up on the screen. She said, I think I'll need to follow you closely for the next 4 years. I keep the spotlight on him, Becky, no doubt. Anything else, honey?
No, let's go.
All righty.
Thank you for the Gap News, keeping us up. Now that you know the current events, Now you can apply the eternal word to that and spread your the commission.